Hello, YouTube and real world PDR. Today we're going to look at this GMC terrain fender dent. This is an intermediate lesson. So this customer was in a big hurry, so I wasn't able to get the kind of detail that I wanted to put on the website, and the camera angles were a little off and my camera settings were off because I suck at being a cameraman. So consider this a quick lesson. Hopefully you have most of the general idea already in place in your arsenal, and if not, I encourage you to go over to realworldpdr.com. The site is almost ready. If you want to sign up today, that's great. Expect a couple of little glitches, but they are in the process of being fixed. I would think by Monday, that would be, I don't know, like 3/4 of 2018. It's going to be perfect. What kind of little glitches? Well, the streaming speed's a little bit slow. Also, the confirmation email is probably going to get sent to your spam box for some damned reason. But like I said, it's all in the works of being fixed. If not, wait till Monday or Tuesday, and it's going to be great. Also, it is March 3rd, 2018, and I turned 33 today. That's 3-3 to turn 3-3. So it's kind of special. So here's some free stuff for you. To start this repair, I'm going to use the doodah. The doodah is the king of leverage. Super dangerous tool, but super useful as well. As you can see, I'm using a soft tip on this. It is a red ball that I bought from A1. 5/16 screws into the end of this thing. So be really careful when you're using a doodah because you can rip this whole damned panel off if you really decided to. I'm using this large red ball soft tip. It's all part of the graduated system that I will teach you in real world PDR. And again, if you're not ready for this kind of damage, don't freak. On the site, we have PDR 101, the one you've been waiting for. It's going to cover your bare bones basic, all the way up through some super advanced lessons, including a quarter panel that I absolutely kicked the crap out of. At this point, you're going to be seeing that that part of that dent there does not want to stay up for me. So we've talked about it before. Dent repair is the study of pressures. The dent is a byproduct of the pressures at play. Now, because it's a little floppy like that, here's a tip for you. I can make that artificially stick high. There's pressures trapped there in the crown that I need to relieve. And if those were already relieved, chances are I wouldn't need to do this. But with a soft tip like that, I can make artificial high spots that are going to make the dent or the metal there stick high. I'll explain this in greater detail at a later date, but this is free content, so just sit back and enjoy. The reason I do that, make the dent stick high there, is so whenever I go to work on my crown, I have a better look of what the plane of the panel should be. This is absolutely the roughing out phase of this dent. So basically, I'm just trying to get a rough shape of where the fender was before she ran into her garage. Yep, she ran into her garage. The reason I was rushed with this one is because she is from out of town and she just came to town to get this repaired. She actually went and got a tattoo, so I had a little more time than I thought I did, but this is way too much information that you don't care about. But while I'm using the doodah, doing the same thing over and over again, you're kind of stuck listening to me, so I guess you're going to have to deal with that. So after phase one, my rough out process is complete. I'm going to have something that looks a little bit exactly like this. Like this. Okay, well, there's that really big crown there. That's the next thing we're going to work on. And here we go. There you go, Jim. So you see there, the texture is way off. Again, I'm just roughing this out. And you can see in the back of that dent, there is some artificially high spots. Things that I will be knocking down later. But basically, I just wanted to get that to the correct plane for now. Creating artificial highs is an entirely different thing than over-pushing. Over-pushing, I would be really cranking on this thing, making things that are difficult for me to repair later. Now to move on to my slapper tapper. Now I'm using the slapper tapper because that is a pretty pronounced crown. The reason it's so pronounced, it's on that curve there. So knocking this down with something like a knockdown, even if it was a wide knockdown, would take a whole lot of time. The slapper tapper is pretty amazing because you can knock down and knock down smoothly, thusly creating very little work for yourself in the future. If you do get this thing off kilter a bit, it will leave little dents, but the more you practice with it, the better you'll get at not doing that. To answer your questions, I've had quite a few. The slapper tapper face is covered with an industrial duct tape. Now, I've replaced it once because one of the jackasses in my shop thought it would be really cool to use this as an edge dolly, and marked up my tape a whole lot, and the face of the slapper tapper. I didn't hit him because that's not allowed, but I wanted to hit him. Chris, if you're watching this, if you ever do that again, I'm going to give you an open-handed slap to the face. Now I'm going to speed this up quite a bit. I've moved on to using a gator tooth from Edgy Tools as my knockdown. I'm going to go through and I'm going to knock down anything that I'm not getting with the slapper tapper there. Also any texture that I've added. Now is a good time to knock down some of that artificial high. Now that the pressure's been relieved, I've given metal back to the dent, so it's not going to want to flop around on me. By giving metal back to the dent is what I did is I pushed down that crown back into where it was supposed to be. Remember, I'm trying to replace metal to where it was pre-incident. I'm not just knocking down perpendicularly, I'm replacing it. Think about dent repair that way and it'll be a lot easier for you. On to phase 2 of my project here. So now what we're left with is something that's really not that terrible. Now you can see I'm working with a triple bend from PDR Finesse, and I've actually got this blade on the end of it. And what that does is it helps me reestablish the bottom edge of this damage. It's important to get that done. If not, you're going to have a very rounded effect. Basically, the very bottom edge is going to be stuck in further than what's, a ½ inch above it. So just like a body line, if you have an edge of panel here, you want to reestablish that early on in the repair. And as you can see, I'm just kind of rolling that down there. Truth time. Okay, I'm drinking in my garage, so if I'm really rushing through this, giving it the old half-ass, I am sorry. It's my birthday. I got excuses. Okay, now I've moved on to using the knocker from Edgy Tools. It's a nice flat tip. It was originally designed as the end of a hammer, but I have found my favorite use for it is as a knockdown tool. It provides a really nice, wide, soft knocking down experience, and if you watch my videos, you'll see me use it over and over and over again. Also, I'm using a torch to keep this thing nice and warm. Keep your torch moving at all times, don't get anything too hot. Now, this panel is not seriously overpressured or anything, so the chances of me in a temperature-controlled shop breaking paint are fairly slim. If I'm working towards the bottom edge of that panel, that's where a lot of the pressure is going to be, and that's where I'm more likely to break paint. So especially in that area, I'm going to keep it very warm while working this dent. Now, whenever I start into my tuning, not fine tuning, but tuning process that I'm doing, I'm planning to connect the dots game. By the way, that is the VIP Directional Knockdown Tip that I'm using. I definitely think that everybody should get one of those. It's somewhere between that knocker tip and the gator tooth. It provides a really clean knockdown experience without losing accuracy. It's really nice. You can kind of see around it to see exactly what you're hitting. So from this angle, you can see that I still have some lows to contend with, still some high areas, but let me tell you, at this point in my tuning process, it's as simple as knocking down what's high and picking up what's low. Sounds like an oversimplification, and it probably is, but again, this is a quick lesson. Now, this isn't a really great angle for you to be seeing what's going on here, but there's a couple things coming up that are really important to see, so I'm not going to speed it up quite yet. I'm working along that crown, so I've moved my light to a different position and I can see different parts of the crown that I wasn't able to see before, especially down near the bottom of the panel. Also, I'm working along the edge of the panel to try to make sure that the bottom edge of the dent is where it's supposed to be. I'm not having a rounded effect like I was talking about earlier. Now, the bottom edge of that panel was kicked out a bit, not the part that you see. So keep in mind, I need to keep this very warm. It's as simple as this. I'm going to heat up the edge because as I'm bending that back around, it's going to be likely to want to crack paint. So make sure it's nice and warm. And then I'm just going to give this some taps. Now, don't use anything too hard, too metallic, anything that's going to chip the paint here. But really, just knocking that back into place is going to help straighten out your dent a lot. I find if you try to do this a little too soon, it will round out the edge. So I like to have some pressure built on top of the edge of that before I do this. If not, the panel's going to be all floppy, and as I knock that edge in, it's going to round out the bottom. Again, this will be covered in much greater detail sometime in the future, but keep that in mind. If you have something like this coming up, I hope that bit of information helps. Let's take a peek at the tool that I'm using here. Like I said, it is a triple bend fender specific tool from PDR Finesse. Here I've got a normal round tip on it. Waiting. Oh, there he is. So there's the tip that I have on it, and you can see it's a triple bend. It gives you plenty of leverage into the panel like that. It kicks out real hard and then comes back at a very steep angle. What that allows is for me to leverage off the tire and get all the way down to the very edge of that panel. And a little bit faster now. I'll go ahead and speed this up 800 times. All I'm doing is a connected knocks game here, so anything that is still low, generally it'll be surrounded by the high spots that I put on whenever I was using a softer tip. Man, I'm really not giving this voiceover my all. I'm about a 6-pack in. You're going to have to forgive me on this one. Now, from about this point on to the very end of this repair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an MT rod, formerly the circus rod, from PDR Finesse, and it has a really sharp point, so I can really fine-tune this thing, get into those little tiny lows that I've caused, and continue knocking down any highs that I see. Actually, this sped-up view is pretty good for this kind of work because you can see things happening a lot faster. It's easier to visualize as it comes at you a little bit quicker. And there you see what I'm doing. Before the end of this, I will knock down the very rolled edge of the front of that fender there. I don't know if I got any footage of it, but I did it. And that's about all she wrote. End result looks something exactly like this. Customer was thrilled. We got this done in about an hour and a half. Real clean, real good. I would have liked about another half hour on it, but it is what it is. Hope you enjoyed my super quick, super down and dirty repair of this GMC terrain fender. Like I said, this is definitely no good for paid content because my paid content is much more in depth than this. Happy birthday to me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you over at realworldpdr.com. Like I said, Monday, everything should be perfect, ready to roll. You can sign up now. Just bear with me.